All right, Addison, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you. Appreciate
Yeah,
you having me.
yeah, we're excited to chat with you about everything auto accident, right?
Everything auto accident. Yeah.
Perfect. Do
Yep.
you mind telling us a little bit about your background, where you started, where you went to school?
Yeah, sure. So I was born and raised here, Salt Lake City, South Jordan area. Um, Kind of grew up. I have engineering background. My parents, my dad, my grandpa. So that kind of like I call it the nerdy world, if you will, the math and all of that. And I was kind of the oddball out. I was always like, I didn't think that was kind of my area per se. So I went through school, took all the math classes, did all the stuff, kind of following that engineering track. And I was like, I hate this. This is so miserable. so, but I'm actually like, I went the non-traditional route. So I graduated with an undergrad degree in psychology.
Okay.
Ended up going into the workforce in sales. And if you know me, that kind of fits my personality. I like that world. And I sat down with my wife. I ended up getting married. We started having kids, and I sat down and I just said, I just feel like I need more education. And we kind of looked around and started learning about the law, learning about law school, kind of how it all works, and that just kind of piqued my interest a little bit. I didn't love the idea of an entrance exam per se, so we kind of just said, hey, we're gonna go. If stuff just kind of lines up and works out, it's gonna line up and work out. And we actually ended up out at Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska.
That's a good school.
That's fun. I genuinely, I don't know if I'd put it on my vacation list per se, but Omaha is such a unique and cool area, and we had a really great experience out there and graduated law school in 2020, and here we are. So
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Have you been, how long have you been here in Salt Lake Valley then?
Yeah, so 2020, the height of the pandemic, right? And
Right.
so I was bouncing back and forth trying to figure out. They didn't have a bar exam initially for Utah, and that could be a whole nother
Right.
episode here. But I was bouncing back and forth trying to figure out. I was interviewing for jobs, and then things would get rescinded. And we actually we ended up in Lovelock, Nevada. Which, if you don't know where that is, you should go Google it. It is the middle of nowhere. Sorry for all you Lovelock people. Love you. But I went out there and clerked for a judge, and so I worked for him for about 10-ish months until my wife finally just said, "Hey, we need internet. We need like regular amenities," and so we moved out here in 2021. So,
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Did you go right into personal injury or have
yeah,
you?
it's a great question. I initially had a job offer at a insurance defense firm, and that kind of fell through a little bit, and I jumped into personal injury right out of the gate. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
What grabbed your attention on personal injury and made you want to do that?
It's interesting, and I'll be honest. At first, it was money, because I have 5 kids, and so for me, it was, I wanted to make sure that I could provide, and so the job offer just had more money attached to it.
Right.
But then I quickly learned the ability to help, right, and the ability to actually like make a difference and influence and help and create, positive outcomes for people. I actually transitioned out of it. I was there for about a year, and my biggest problem was I couldn't understand the process. I didn't understand why somebody with this injury and somebody with the exact same injury were getting a different result.
Right.
And so I jumped ship and went to the insurance defense side. I had a friend who hired me, and we went and worked in the insurance defense world, and I learned the process. I started figuring out the ins, the outs, why things are given certain value and why other things are not. And so I did insurance defense for about 2.5 years, and then came back. And when Resh opened his shop, I got introduced to Resh through a mutual friend. And I said, I better be your first hire, when you expand.
Right.
And that's kind of how I ended up at where I am now, back in the personal injury world with the experience of the defense world to understand. I have an understanding and I get kind of what the process looks like. I understand what the insurance company looks for. I understand, where value actually comes from. And so both Resh and I do. So we've got a different kind of paradigm and perspective that helps, I think, overall clients and just getting good results for everybody. So
Yeah, that seems like it would be extremely valuable for any of your clients to know that you've seen it on both sides so that you can answer the questions on what's the insurance world looking
Right,
at, what
right.
matters to them.
yeah.
That's really cool.
It's almost like we're playing. I always make the joke we're playing with house money at this point, right?
Yeah.
It's almost cheating where we know what the next card's going to be,
Right.
and so it's funny to use like the actual verbiage of the insurance company, and they're like, "How did you?
How do you know that?
How did you know that?" And so I don't know. It's been exciting. It's been fun. Our growth's been great, and so yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that. So if you could highlight a couple things for us, what things do you want people to know about an auto accident injury on their approach to it? What
Yeah.
did they need to know?
My biggest thing, and it only happened through experience. Working in personal injury, you'd see like the property damage, so the impact on their car. And there were many times I'm like, were you really hurt? Like, come on, man, like toughen up a little bit.
So
And
just like small dents and
yeah,
stuff?
you'd
Okay.
or like you'd look, they'd be like, I got hit right here, and I'm like, that looks like you just drove it off the lot. Like
Right.
where was the impact, you know? And it didn't happen until I got in an accident myself, and it was gridlock traffic on I-15. Wasn't anything tremendous. I mean, it was a teenage kid. He was looking at his phone, and it was like stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, and he just kind of tapped me. And I thought, okay, my clients really are not telling the truth. Like, this did not hurt. But what was interesting is the next day, when I woke up, I was like, wow, like I can feel that. Like I understand now. And it was a really good wake up call to me that it doesn't matter the size of the impact, right? Or you could have a semi truck involved, or you could have a little Toyota Prius involved.
Right.
The body can get hurt. And
Yeah.
so my whole like empathy paradigm shifted. And so for me, to answer your question, I would want people to know that an injury is an injury, and whether it's big, whether it's small, whether you can see it, whether you can't, an injury is an injury, and you should go get checked out. And I think that too many people kind of tough it out, mainly men. I feel like men, when they come into my office and talk to me, are, hey, I've got a job, I've got all these responsibilities. I'm not too hurt, so you know what, I can
I'll just
skip
deal with
that
it.
part. Yeah, how can you help me with my car? And I have to stop and just, hey, listen, you have access to care, you should go do it. And so
Right.
to answer your question again, an injury is an injury, big or small, it's there, and you should go get checked out. And so I'd want people to know that. And people just think that, oh my gosh, I got to spend all this money. There's so many access points through insurance that can help you. Your auto insurance, not health insurance, your
Right.
auto insurance that you won't be out of pocket for. And so, yeah, I think that's how I'd answer that.
Yeah, if you go and look up on YouTube any video about the injury caused by a 6 mile or an 8 mile per hour impact, much less a 40 or 50 mile per hour
Right.
impact, right? And it's incredible. The whiplash that happens, it doesn't take a ton.
Right. I mean, even a healthy individual, right? Even someone who's active, who's, the Ironman caliber individual is susceptible to that small impact,
Right.
low impact injury. And so,
Right.
yeah, I think that's what I would say is an injury is an injury, and go get yourself treated.
Yeah. I also love that you have that sympathy.
Yeah.
Right? Like for me, I went through the same thing as a physical therapist, and people would come into my office and they're limping after they're like, my back's killing me. I'm like, why are you limping?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
And then I got a serious back injury and I was limping. And I was like, why can I not stop limping? My legs are fine.
Right.
It was just my back hurt. I didn't even have like radiating symptoms.
Yeah.
So it really opens you up. You're like, oh, okay. It helps you understand what the people you're trying to help are going through.
For sure. For
I
sure.
love that.
Yeah, I felt so bad for all the people that I had initially thought. And I remember laying in bed going, okay, this person. I like owe all these people an apology, right? Because I felt like, God, you're such a wuss. But no, it's real. I mean, it's a
Right.
real thing. So,
Yeah. Well, we're all human, right?
Yeah.
We all have to
Yeah.
learn from experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So when you're talking about these access points for people,
Yeah.
what can people access? What you were talking about, auto insurance?
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
For sure. So all of us on our insurance policies, we have what's called personal injury protection. The state of Utah uses that as the key. I call it the key to open up a case. And so what you have to do is exhaust at least $3,000 in treatment
And that's for Utah.
for Utah.
Right.
And other states, some have higher limits, some have no limits, some you can waive that coverage. So in Utah, it's $3,000, and that's through your own insurance. And some people are like, I don't want to use my insurance. Don't touch my insurance. Well, you have to.
Right.
And
Does it actually hurt them if they do?
No,
Like
it
their
does not.
own
No,
PIP?
it's a great question. No, and so they'll actually go subrogate that on the back end on their own. You'll never know about it, and then
Right.
you don't even know they go do it. And so you go get that treatment, you take your PIP claim number, and for example, to you, right?
Right.
Your office, you'd get that, and you guys can bill that.
Right.
And once you reach the 3,000 threshold, the state says, okay, now you have, I don't want to say valid, but now you have a claim that you can pursue
Right.
legally.
Because that PIP is exhausted. Now,
Right.
Now it's like, okay, this is more than what the PIP was meant to protect you. So now there's a claim.
Right.
Okay, that makes
And I
sense.
would even branch out to say, I've had people come in my office who are hurt and they're at fault.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're at fault. It doesn't matter if you're not at fault, right? You can use that $3,000. And so I've told people, I'm like, hey, go to so-and-so, you've got $3,000 and maybe you're going to have to be out of pocket because you're at fault, but you've got at least this chunk of change to go get yourself fixed. And so,
Right. And if you're at fault, it's already hitting your insurance. So it's not a second claim, right?
Correct. That's
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. And that insurance, does that cover your fee? What's the process there for these?
Great question. So we sign people up and then we're like, hey, we're not doctors, right? I mean, we've all seen Grey's Anatomy, but we're probably not to the level of a doctor yet.
It's pretty good, though.
I mean, 21 seasons, I think, that's got to be at least
That's
a
gotta be a
bachelor's
record,
degree, right?
right?
Yeah, it's a record. I think maybe a minor in medicine. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, so we kind of sit in the back, and some people have, they know you or they know other like providers, and they'll go, hey, I've got myself, or we can suggest and help, like, hey, this is a great place to go. And then they'll go get treated. And everybody has the question, how long does this take? And my answer to that is however long your body needs. And I encourage people to not like, okay, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm tired. Let's just get it over with.
Right.
Listen to your body, right? And help your body get better. And this is a chance to do so on the dime of somebody else, right? Where you're not out of pocket. And so the process works like that. They get themselves better. They work with you. They work with, other providers, and they get themselves better. Then from there, we gather all of that information, medical bills. We gather all the notes from doctors, etc. We create a demand and we send it out. And we begin negotiating with the insurance company. That might sound simple and easy. And what's so interesting that I'm finding is people do that on a daily basis, right? They do it on their own. They understand. They can Google. We live in such an information-heavy world. Right. And what we're finding and understanding is people are getting dramatically less. I mean, what we try to shoot for is to get your medical bills covered at least, and then move on to pain and suffering and add some value to your claim. We're finding people are getting thousands upon thousands of dollars less than what they truly have in front of them. And so, insurance companies will try to come in and hack down bills and say, hey, I don't know, you stubbed your toe last week and therefore, you shouldn't be, we're not going to pay you full. We'll pay you 1.5 times your meds. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with the other half?
Right.
Or like, how am I supposed to, make sure that we get stuff covered? And, so anyway, I think for us, a big thing is like we have the ability to go advocate for you. We have the ability to go and fight and say, no, this isn't right. Here's what a recent case settled for, like, and do the comparables and really get true value out of your claim.
Right.
But again, to answer your question, that's kind of the treatment phase, and then we step in and take over and really try to negotiate out your case. So,
Yeah, that's great. I really think people need to understand that they need to have a lawyer on the case. If you're only using PIP, right, then you might not need a lawyer.
Sure.
If you're at fault, you might need a lawyer to protect you from the other party.
Yeah, your insurance company should kick somebody in if you get sued. But a lot of times if, like, let's say you and I were in an accident, it was my fault. I might not even know anything about you. My insurance company just handles it, right? And that's why we pay for it.
Right.
And so, and if you ended up needing to file a lawsuit against me, I would be named in that lawsuit, but I would just, call up my insurance and say, here you go.
Yeah,
and
they hand it back over.
Yeah, and they would have a duty to protect me in that moment.
So man, you've got me thinking, with these situations where they're only going to use PIP, or if they're at fault, I feel like some people are still afraid to call a lawyer.
Yeah.
You guys don't have a consultation fee.
No.
Is it worth them calling you so you can at least answer questions and guide them? What does that look like?
Yeah, we walk a fine line of giving like legal advice. I think you understand that. But what it is, I would love to evaluate the claim and help whoever it is understand, okay, you're at fault. Talk to your insurance company, right? PIP, et cetera, you can go use. But sometimes, I mean, there's cases we call them 50-50. And that's maybe where like a police officer just kind of said, I don't know what happened here. All I know is 2 cars hit. You go your way, you go your way. And then, yeah, a lawyer makes a lot of sense. And we come in and we have experts that we hire. We go reconstruct your accident. We do all sorts of things. And so I think getting a free consult from somebody is always valuable. Ours is always free. We don't charge for that. And so, yeah, come in, come talk. Let's see what you got and make sure. And whether it's with us at Resh Law or whether it's with another attorney, I think it's valuable to get insight into this world. And it's such a unique niche area, right? I mean, I like to compare it to like family law. Family law lives in a very specific bubble, and there's very specific rules and things that govern within family law. And the same thing is within personal injury. It's not like we've got this crazy expansive world of random rules. I mean, we've got a very small window to work in, and it's very clear and defined. And so our ability to help is tremendous. So
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. You brought up something that I want us to touch on more.
yeah.
You mentioned stubbing your toe.
Yeah.
Right? So how does that play into, what are the factors that people need to consider if they've been in a car accident 3 months ago? They were like, I'm just getting back to feeling good, and they get in another one. Or they had a surgery, right? A rotator cuff surgery or a total knee 8 months ago, and now they got in a car crash. What, they need to hide that from their insurance? They need to pretend like it didn't happen?
That's a great question.
What do people need to know?
Yeah. So there's a thing called the eggshell plaintiff. And what that means is we take the person as they are in the moment that something happened. Insurance companies, they love, so yeah, the knee is a great example. I feel like the knee comes up all the time. So he's like, my knee didn't hurt, now it hurts, but it hurt. And then you go look at their records, and it's like every time they've been to the doctor, they've talked about their knee. Right. We take the person as they are in the moment, so in whatever condition they were in, and we then go from there. That's kind of our baseline. So we can't take the person at like, hey, you're a fantastic, perfect 100%. Right. If you had knee pain, etc., and it was exacerbated by the accident, well, you as a medical professional and other medical professionals can apportion and say, yeah, the accident caused this percentage more pain and damage, etc. There's nothing to really hide. If we really get down to it, the insurance companies end up in a litigation scenario. They have access to at least 5 years of your medical history by law. And so, and that's kind of what I specialize in, is in litigation. And so we turn that over, and they'll see it anyway. And I found that if you're upfront and honest with the insurance company, it's kind of the old adage, you catch more flies with honey versus vinegar.
Right.
You get a better result. And so, we don't try to, hide the ball, as they say, and I wouldn't be worried about it. And that's part of our job, is to make sure that we help delineate and say, yeah, okay, we had a knee issue, but now it's worse.
Right.
And we can figure out, okay, before it was 40%, but now we're at 80, so we've doubled the problem. And that's another benefit of having an attorney and making sure and having a conversation with you, saying, Brad, hey, here's where this person was at. Can you help us figure out, okay, the accident happened here. What causes more? It caused more pain. Can you give us a percentage and give us a rating, et cetera? And so, yeah, and that's I wouldn't be afraid of that.
So what I'm hearing you say is, don't hide stuff.
Yeah, don't hide stuff.
Like,
they'll
it's going to come out anyway.
They'll find out.
And it's way worse.
Yeah.
Right. And for our physical therapists, medical doctors, chiropractors who are listening, you were saying that we can help with that process, help delineate. The patient is reporting that they had a total knee replacement or whatever.
Right.
That's something that we need to be helping with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The notes and keeping those clear, concise, and trying not to cross lines. I know that, once you've seen this person 10, 15, 20 times or so, things can, weave in and out. But building a true timeline of here's what happened to this individual is so critical.
Yeah.
And you definitely, the providers can help with that.
I think that's crucial, especially for physical therapists out there, because there's only a couple companies here in Utah that specialize in auto accident with PT. Yeah. More chiropractors are involved, right?
Sure.
And I guess for MDs, because MDs, it's very specific groups, right? PTs need to understand that we need to put a statement about cause of the injury, and we need to delineate the percentages. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I love, and I'm not saying this because I'm on your show, but I think physical therapists add tremendous value. You said it. So chiropractors are heavily involved. They're the ones that, probably come to top of mind, right, for people. But where I see a ton of value for clients is, okay, you've got chiropractic care and you cap it off with physical therapy, or you add physical therapy mixed in somewhere. The value that we see on our cases, tremendous. It's tremendous. And the way that the insurance company then evaluates and looks at the claim, because when you look at the if we had just straight chiro only, they come back and they try to hack that down. But when you add the opinion and you add the work of physical therapy, the claim just gets enhanced all the way around. And so, I think physical therapists play a vital role in that, and they help add, again, value to the claim, for sure.
See, that's super helpful for people to understand is that value that PTs can bring. Chiropractors need to know that. Not all of them do know what PTs can bring. Sometimes they think we're just personal trainers.
Yeah.
But I also think to add to that is just having multiple opinions, right? You've got even just a physical therapist alone, just a chiropractor alone is not as good as 2 or 3 different opinions on the case, helping to delineate that what was this injury caused by this accident and stuff like that.
No, for sure.
I think there's a lot of value there. Do you have any unique stories for us? This car crash was insane, or I helped this one person this way?
So many come to mind. If you go to our webpage, or not our webpage, our social medias, we have a story. Resh helped a lady out that was just, it's a tremendous story, and more to come on that from us. But I think if I could just, what we love to do is we love to take the people that maybe have been kicked around. And what I mean by that is they go to get help, and the attorney's office is like, I don't think you got a case, see ya. And they go to another one, and they go to another one. And there's been many times when I've had somebody and they have 4 or 5 folders from different offices, and they've just been told no. And what I love at our firm is we're small enough that we don't have to take immediate stuff and go, we have to hurry.
Right.
We can stop. And there's been times when I've said to people, let me just do a little research. Let me just stop, and I'll research, and I'll call you. And we turn around and we take the case, and we get a huge positive outcome. We just recently had a case where a man was driving and he was ready to move to Moab, and all of his earthly possessions are in his truck, and he's driving and he's so excited. Moab was his jam. He's just all about the Red Rock life. And so he is stopped at a stop sign, and an individual jumps through his window. He's on drugs or he's drunk or something. Jumps through the window and begins to beat on our guy, just beating him up. And our guy's an older gentleman, just beating him up. And then he grabs the steering wheel. Our guy loses control, and it ends up running into a house.
Wow.
So who's at fault?
Right.
Who's at fault, right? And this man had been to various attorneys, and they were just like, we don't know. And what we framed it as, and we talked to the insurance company, is as soon as that man took hold of that steering wheel, he's the driver at that point.
Yeah.
Right? He's now in control, and he has control of that. And we were able to access the insurance of our guy, so the driver, the guy that was in the driver's seat,
right,
and get him an awesome, get his truck fixed, compensate him and get him treatment because he was hurt. They ran into a home, and so it was really cool. So that's kind of an odd one.
Yeah,
right?
That is odd.
But I think we do really good work with the odd cases where we'll take time and research and figure out and do what lawyers are supposed to do, is create an argument and go out and fight for it and see what happens. And I think we were just as shocked as he was to the result. But I think we're really good at that at Resh Law. We take the time to figure out and go get it done. So
I don't think everybody understands that there is a difference between which attorney you pick, right?
Yeah.
So one thing I've always emphasized through my whole career is go and interview your PT.
Yeah.
Go interview them, and if they won't let you interview them, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
They're obviously too busy to focus on that, or you can't find out if they're the right fit for you.
Sure.
I think it's the same with your lawyer.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Go and interview your lawyer.
Yeah.
Is this somebody you even want to deal with, right? Calling you, or harassing you or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Or are they approachable? Are
Yeah.
they easy to work with?
I think one to add to that, I would say when you're hiring an attorney, see who shows up to talk to you, right? So if you call and say, hey, and a lot of guys now offer to go to wherever you are, see who shows up. Is it the attorney, or is it, an intake specialist or a negotiator or someone other than the attorney? Resh and I mean, we're not perfect. I'm not saying 100% of the time, but I would say 95% of the time, he and I are out pounding the pavement, right? We're out going on the road. Resh has driven to Brigham City, gone down to St. George. I mean, honestly, technology makes it easy, right? We could say, hey, let's jump on a Zoom call. Hey, let's do
Right.
this. Hey, let's do that. And sometimes clients prefer it, but
Right.
we go down. Both of us have been in ICUs. Both of us, have been to the hospitals where they've called and asked us to show up. We've, drive to a home. So look, see who shows up when you need them to, and I think that's a good indicator of who you're dealing with.
So in addition to who shows up, what other things should people be looking for?
I would ask the question, one, who's handling my case? I want to know who that person is. Because every office, once you get taken in, you're going to have, a paralegal that's going to help, right? A case manager that's going to help you keep track and organize. It's the nature of the beast. We have to, right? Somebody's got to keep on top of everything. And then
Right.
I would also ask, if this case gets stuck, are you guys going to litigate this case? Or a lot of smaller places will farm it out. They'll get a case, they'll work it up, and then the offers stink, and they say, okay, now you got to go over here to Billy's place, and he's going to litigate it for you. And
Right.
you're juggling, bouncing around, and if you don't even know who Billy is, you didn't interview him, you didn't talk
Right.
to him, and now he gets all your stuff. And
Right.
so, we at our firm, if stuff gets stuck, I'll handle the beginning phase as well on some cases, but you'll come to my desk and I'll litigate it, and you will finish at Resh Law. You start with Resh Law, you'll finish with Resh Law, and I think that's important. A lot of firms do that as well. I'm not saying we're the only ones, but
Right.
I would ask that question: if my case gets stuck or the offer doesn't, work, where am I going to go? Am I going to be here, or are you going to, kick me out? So
Cool. Anything else that they should be asking about? Who shows up? Are they going to litigate?
how long
Do
have you
they-
been doing it? Are
Okay.
you doing other things? Are you a general practice for?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Are you doing other areas of law so that you're not focusing strictly on me, right? On
Right.
my situation. Jack of all trades, master of none, right? I
Right.
mean, and there's a lot of attorneys that are going to be mad I said that, but, I think, I would want a specialist working on my case. And the only thing that we handle at our firm is personal injury. We don't really get into anything else. And so I would make sure that's the case too. Are one, two, maybe areas of law, but when you get into that 3, 4, 5, and you've got a big, expansive, and you got a guy who's turning to family law, who's turning to estate law, who then gets to your personal injury case and is like, okay, I'm just going to check some boxes. Like, I would want somebody that's on top of it,
Yeah.
So I think that's a good question.
Yeah, I like that. If people need to know what they're looking for, we tell them, hey, go interview your PT.
Yeah.
And what am I asking? Right? Like, do you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, all PTs have a doctorate degree, right?
Right.
Like, but you got to know those questions to ask. I
Yeah,
think that's super valuable.
sure.
What if somebody feels stuck? What if they feel like they're, and this is something else we've got to talk about, is attorneys and what are they allowed to do, right? Can they dictate care and order an MRI for you or not? But before
No,
we
the answer's no.
before we dive into that,
Yeah.
what if they feel stuck? What if they're with an attorney who they do feel is maybe even dictating care, but pushing them to close their case, accept a settlement when they're still suffering?
Yeah, that's a great question. I tell all of my clients when I first meet them, we're going to get on this boat together. You're the captain of the boat, and I'm just the navigator. I will help lead and guide, but you tell me when and where you want to go, what you want to do. Our job is it's a pretty fine line where we can get into some trouble, right, ethically, to tell, hey, go see Brad, right? As much as we'd love to do that, and that you understand that, and it's
Oh yeah.
the attorneys that do get into hot water are the ones that are dictating and guiding. And so if somebody does get stuck or somebody feels, hey, this just isn't a good fit, they have every right under the sun to we say fire or terminate the relationship, but they can go hire another attorney, and then that attorney, sends a letter saying, hey, I now represent them. And attorneys are protected. I don't want to say that you get away scot-free. If attorney has put in a tremendous amount of work on your claim, they do have every right to lien that case, and they can put their name under all the lien holders as someone that needs to get paid out. And I think that's fair. That's very fair.
They already did half the work.
Yeah, and so in the personal injury space, there needs to be an offer on the table. So if they do get to that point of work and there's an offer on the table, a lien can then be placed for, the amount that's there. And so, but if you're stuck, or if someone feels like this isn't a good fit, I don't like where I'm at, or maybe an attorney leaves. That's a very popular thing. An attorney leaves and goes to another office, and they're like, well, wait, I like that guy. I don't know anybody else here.
Right.
They can go with them, right? They have an opportunity to do that. And so you don't need to feel stuck. Mobility is a very real thing, and you can go do that. So
yeah, that's super helpful. I've been doing this for years, right? And I have never, the whole time that I've specialized in PI, had a single lawyer dictating care, which when I first got into it, I was warned about that, and I was, the lawyers are going to call you and say, hey, you have to order an MRI.
Right.
Never once.
Yeah.
And maybe I've just only worked with really good lawyers like Resh Law.
Yeah.
But that's, obviously it's against the law anyway, but I imagine it's still happening some out there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know of anybody that's like out genuinely doing that, but I would imagine there are. And there's some that they feel like they need to add the value to then increase to get better offers, etc. And so if a provider comes back and says, hey, I don't think we need this, for us, that's the end all be all, right? That's like, okay, period, right? Now let's move on, right?
What's next?
It's not a comma to add our 2 cents. And so, so if someone is in a situation where the attorney is like, I'll call them, I'll talk to them, I'd be careful. That gets really sticky really fast. So,
well, and so let's dive in a little bit on the provider side.
Okay.
For our physical therapists, chiropractors watching, they need to understand that first off, if they feel like they're being told, do this. But what else do you wish they understood? Because you're not going to call me and say, Brad, order an MRI. But other PTs who don't specialize in this, what do they need to know about MRIs, about timing, communication, gaps in care, things like that?
Yeah, perfect. I think if I could just immediately, just number one thing is communication. We love working with you because I can text you at any time, and I know that you're going to call me and you can give me an immediate answer. That I get that's a perfect world, and you run your business that way, and I get some people don't. But communication and helping understand, because what we see on our end is we get a client who's upset, right? Who wonder like, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And we're like, well, we'll call Brad, and we'll talk to Brad, and we'll figure out what's going on. And that phone call isn't an accusatory or anything like that. But what I would hope, number one, first and foremost, is that communication is the great peacemaker for all of this entire process. So I would say to any chiropractor, physical therapist, communication through an email, through a phone call, a text message, whatever it is, in just helping make sure that everybody's on the same page. Because we can get cross so quickly and easily. A client heard one thing and they tell us, and we call you and it's a completely separate thing, and we're like, well, wait.
That happens.
What's the truth?
So often.
Right. And so I think communication, if I could say one thing, is to communicate. Timing, when someone is injured, the quicker the better, obviously. Gaps in treatment are tough, but can sometimes be easily explained away. Not to direct care, but I would say imaging is important. In the world that I live in litigation, objective evidence is key. And so for me to go in with just medical records and notes and like, well, he said, it's way more powerful to take an x-ray, right? Or to take an MRI and say, he said, and he backed it up with this, right? See, right? And so I would say imaging and all of that is key up front. And then to give a baseline of where this person started and where they finished is important.
And I don't think you're directing medical care by suggesting that. That's super important for PTs specifically to understand.
Yeah.
Okay. In the physical therapy world, we're used to being kind of that bottom rung. Like you go and see your doctor who gives you ibuprofen and says, wait 2 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Okay, your knee still hurts. Let's get surgery.
Right.
I'm exaggerating.
No.
And then after surgery, we go to PT. Why not go see PT first? And
Right.
it's improved a lot. Some insurances, and I've had patients mad about it. They're like, my insurance is making me come see you, right?
Yeah.
Because the insurance learned that surgery isn't the end all be all, right? But as a PT, they've seen a doctor, they've ordered an MRI or whatever. We aren't used to ordering that MRI. So PTs out there need to understand that's your job.
Right.
Like you get this patient and they're having a radiculopathy, they've plateaued, they're not getting better. Order that MRI now. We want to save money. We don't want to overutilize. But like you said, you're not just treating the patient, you're treating the case.
Right.
It's
100%.
crucial that you think about both. And so does the case need the MRI to support it and back up what you're saying as a provider so that the patient's not stuck with these medical bills?
Perfect. Exactly. Amen. 100%. And I think we get so nervous where, I mean, surgery, we lead up to surgery but insurance companies do like to see conservative care. They want to see that we didn't just jump to get underneath a knife and, all of a sudden we got an $80,000 bill, right?
Right.
We want to see opinions that lead up to, we tried everything. We've done chiropractic care. We've done physical therapy. We've got our MRIs. We can see that this is not working. Yeah. Okay, and now here we are. So again, it goes back to that value proposition of how are we adding true value? How are we genuinely helping this individual? And when I say value, I'm not saying monetary, but to help this individual as a human being.
Right.
Add value to them to make sure that we're taking care of their body and getting them right. And so,
and maybe there's nothing else, but is there anything else you wish more physical therapists understood about the PI world, and so that they can maybe take a class from you and Resh, or can go and learn this stuff so that they do better?
Yeah, it's simple, is what I would say. I think the people that we've gone and done like a lunch and learn, or gone and done a little, training with, we always walk away and they're like, I didn't realize it was that easy. I didn't realize the claims process or how to be a lien holder, right? What is being a lien? That's scary.
That's
Whoa,
scary.
Don't talk to me about liens, right? I want cash now. And
right.
They go, wow, I didn't understand that it was that easy.
Yep.
And that the process is, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but the process is
straightforward.
Yeah, it's very linear. Yeah, it's just like it works its way out. And so, again, another attorney, have somebody come teach you and how it all works, and watch your business grow.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly looking to, like I said before, add that value of a PT on the end of a chiropractic case, right? And show the insurance company, how serious we are, and also the progression and help that this individual got. So
I'm glad that you guys teach those classes.
Yeah.
Right. Early on, when I got into PI, auto accident, Resh was teaching me a lot of this stuff and helping make sure I wasn't making the mistakes a lot of PTs make in being overly conservative. We have to actually help people get better. One of the mistakes, to add to this, PTs will say, okay, your insurance says you get 12 visits this year. So they're used to like, okay, let's go once a week.
Right.
That might be good for somebody who is limited on resources, and you're just like, hey, I'm going to coach you and guide you. They might need more help. It might take them longer to get better. But on an auto accident case, on a workers' comp case, which are the two things we do, it tells the insurance this person's not that injured.
Right.
Anything else that would be valuable to add to that?
I think that's perfect. I just, the aggressive that you said, the aggressive of I gotta help, right? I want to help, not just looking at, okay, you only get this small window of time to, 12 visits. That's it. Well, what if that person needs 20? Okay, what if that person needs the extra care? And what if that care actually helps them, get to their maximum improvement? Well, there's ways to get around that. There's ways to get you paid to help your business grow. You're a business. I mean, if we're being honest, you're a business. Yeah. You provide for your family. You have an awesome family. So learning how the process works super important.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
Yeah, the PTs need to reach out, and not, I don't mean to just pick on PTs.
No.
Right? There's chiropractors out there who don't understand it as well. There's MDs who don't understand it as well. So anybody in the PI world
For
or
sure.
anybody who wants to get involved needs to reach out.
Yeah.
And I would say it's not as scary as I thought it was
Yeah.
when I first started my career, and it, like you said, it's more linear.
Yeah.
And what I really like working in the PI is I get to help people more. So I felt locked in with insurance.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't treating my patient, I was treating the insurance.
Right.
What did they want? Okay.
Right.
The insurance was dictating care, and any MD out there deals with this way more than PTs.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
like, I want you to have this medication. And
Yeah.
no, the insurance says you have to go with this brand.
Right.
But I have side effects from that one. Too bad your insurance said use that.
That's all you get. Yeah, no, for sure.
So I've loved that. I love that I actually get to help people and get them better faster, right? Until you've been in a car crash, you don't know what they're going through.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
It's traumatic.
It is.
This is,
It's wild.
and it's not just physically traumatic. It can be psychologically too.
Yeah.
And so our patients will connect them with psychologists and get them help on the mental side. I've actually had a lot of patients with concussions.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see their whole personality shift after they work on the psychology and the concussion side of things.
Right.
Their brain fog disappears and they come out of their shell. I'm like, you're such a cool person.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting when their family comes with them, the family says, this isn't my husband. This
Right.
isn't my son or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, he looks fine to me, right? But then when their personality comes out, I'm like, wow, you have so much more to give.
For sure.
It's very, very entertaining and rewarding to see.
sure.
Like you said, it's not just about monetary.
Right.
It's about actually helping people.
100%. 100%.
I love that. Anything else that you want to add in? Any fun advice that you've got for us?
I would say this. It's interesting to be in this field. It's interesting to have people's perspective on things. And I would just say when you're not suing an individual. So many times I get people that are like, oh my gosh, he's just a teenager. Or he's a newlywed. Like, I don't want to hurt them or harm them in any way. And it's like, no, you're not. Like, that's why we all pay for insurance, right? And so, yeah, maybe a premium goes up or something like that. But when you open a claim or when you go after somebody in a car accident, I hope people understand it's very rare that you are going to go after someone's assets. It's very rare that you'll go for the house, for the boat, for the car, for the what you see in Hollywood. Right? Very, very rare. And even then, in the situations where it may apply, the person has to have it. You and I could go sue somebody right now and we could get a judgment for $1 million. But if that person is like the street sweeper, we love all you street sweepers, they don't have $1 million. And so you and I should just frame that judgment and hang it right here on your wall because we're never going to collect.
Right.
So it's a very rare scenario. And so the attitude, and I think it's a statewide thing, is where we're so scared to go after somebody. We're like, I don't want to harm them. We're not harming anybody.
Yeah.
There's a ginormous corporation. There's an insurance company that's who we're going after. That's who's taking care of these bills. That's who's going to help you, get back to where you were before. And so my advice would be to get that out, right? We're not harming anybody. It is a very rare scenario in which we would ever need to do that. And then I'd also advise this. This is probably the most heartbreaking thing for me is when somebody walks in my office and they're like, I see their insurance coverage and the coverage is it's minimal. And it might sound self-serving, like, oh my gosh, the attorney's trying to tell me to get more money. But in reality, you never know when that accident's going to happen. And what's hard is when you have a minimum policy, which has changed in Utah now to $30,000. And so you have the bare minimum. It used to be 25. So you have the bare minimum and, you have $100,000 in medical bills, right? And so what happens? And that's where an attorney does. We come in and we fit you all into that. But reality, you could have been protected, right? You could have had, sufficient coverage. You could have been able to help yourself. And I would take a look at your coverage and see, do you have uninsured motorists? So if someone hits you that has insurance that's lapsed, insurance that's not valid, can you protect yourself? Because really, at the end of the day, you're stuck. Or and then do you have UIM? They call that, or UIM, or uninsured, or excuse me, underinsured motorists.
Right.
So if the person who hits you doesn't have sufficient coverage to cover you, your own insurance can come help. And everyone's like, well, then my premiums go up. Well, we have laws to protect you, so that can't happen.
Right.
And so take a look at your insurance coverage. See what you have. Make sure that you're, for dollars, I'm talking dollars per month,
Right.
you could get better coverage. I always encourage people 100, 300, right? Minimum.
Right.
If you have a family, maybe increase that to 250, 500. And
what does that 100, 300 mean?
Yeah, so 100,000 in an accident would be, for an individual, you would have $100,000 worth of coverage.
And that's underinsured coverage, or is
that could be your
PIP
bodily injury, or so bodily injury, or underinsured or uninsured motorists.
Okay. And
then the 300,000 is if you're in a group of people. So if there were a lot of people in your car, then 300,000 becomes the umbrella over that group of people. But and then your PIP, you can adjust that as well, but you have a standard 3,000 typically. That's the most common we see, but that can be increased to 5 to 10 and whatever.
I had one case where it was $150,000 PIP.
Wow.
I know. I was like,
incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. So I call your insurance agent if you use an insurance agent, and pay the extra couple dollars. It's worth it, right? To make sure that you're covered, your family's covered, so that you're not stuck in a situation.
It's not terribly more expensive.
No, no. I mean, honestly, a couple bucks.
Yeah.
So, unless you have a really bad driving record, I don't want to put some false hope out there. Unless you're not a great driver.
Yeah, be a good driver.
Be a good driver.
Which I'm glad that came up. Since getting involved in this world, I drive slower. I've slowed down. I'm more cautious.
Yeah.
Car crashes are traumatic, and I've unfortunately had the opportunity is the wrong word, but the scenario where I've witnessed several very large crashes that I've pulled over to go and help with. And when you see it, and when you're a medical provider pulling over to help, it wakes you up a little bit.
Yeah. You start looking, I'm looking in like different blind spots now, because I'm like, man, I'm not going to, I agree. I'm with you.
A very aware driver, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I Robot, I think that's what that movie's called. With
Will Smith. Yeah.
And that'll be nice when the cars
Yeah.
do all that for us.
They have some of the, we were just down in Phoenix, and I can't remember what they're called, but I looked over and there was nobody in the driver's seat, and there was a lady in the back on her phone, and it took off. And I said to my kids, I'm like, we're following that car. And they're all over down in Phoenix. It's really cool. I can't remember what it's called, but it's coming.
That's
coming.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
I feel like there's going to be a trauma period, like as that comes in, and there's accidents because of it, because it's not quite perfect yet, or anything like that won't be quite efficient unless everybody's doing it. Right.
No, totally.
So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts things.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, how can people contact you guys? What's the best way? Pull up your website?
Yeah, so we're trying to be all over. We're like everybody. So you can find us on social media. You can find us online. We have a general line that you can call, and that will get to anybody in our office. You can actually text that as well. You can find that on our website. See, we have so many. 801-810-7374. So 801-810-7374. We changed that first part. So
make it that local 801 number.
Yeah, we wanted the 801 because it was 385 before.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Sorry, Resh.
Well, that's great. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and teach people.
Yeah.
And we'll keep trying to set up opportunities for you guys to meet with more PTs, chiropractors, because I think not only our public, right? We want people to know they're not suing a person. That getting a lawyer, at least talking to you guys, is super vital. Yeah. After any car crash, whether you're at fault or not, get at least touch base with someone who knows. Right?
For sure.
And but especially the providers who are maybe hurting the case, right? Or whatever else. I want them to get that information. I am glad that came up. Sorry, just one more question for you. With what are those mistakes people are going to make with posting on social media?
That's a great question.
Or trusting and I hope I'm not offending any insurance agent out there, right? But trusting the insurance agent when they show up, I've heard horror stories. I don't deal with
Yeah.
this. Show up, here's a $500 check, just get you started.
Yeah.
And you're actually signing off that you're done.
Yeah,
and
for
you're
sure.
good.
They're getting really sneaky, so it's getting a lot easier where they're like, we'll just Zelle you the money, or we can Venmo you right now, immediate access. And so we'll give you 10 treatments, and then here's $2,500, sign this, you're good to go. I would be very leery of that. A lot of people don't know this. You have, if you do that, so 15 days from the time of your accident, you have a window to rescind that. So if they contact you and you're like, oh, I feel okay, and they're like, well, how about $2,500 and 10 visits, punch card to the chiropractor, and you'll be good to go. And you're like, $2,500? Sure.
Yeah.
So if you're within that 15-day window, you can rescind that and actually go through the normal process. I will confess that we, at the law firm I was at before, we had fake Facebook profiles. And so we would go out and we would add Brad, and we'd say, what's Brad doing? And he says he's in an accident. And oh my gosh, he's at Lake Powell, right? He's wakeboarding. He's, on jet skis. He's doing all these things, and it can be pretty damaging. And then I'm a recovering defense attorney, so but I would take pictures off of people's social media, and they'd be like, oh, they'd come limping in, right? And I would go, so tell me about this trip, and their eyes were like,
yeah.
Oh, what about this trip? And so I would just be cautious, make your account private, don't add people you don't know.
Right.
And maybe stop posting for a little bit.
And maybe avoid those activities too, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're really hurting, I don't think you'd be involved. And obviously you don't want to be in any insurance fraud.
Right.
I'm not saying that, but help yourself out, right? And don't get caught, because you were at a water park. Maybe you didn't get in the pool, or you didn't go down the slides or anything, but let's just keep your case clean and not have to go through those issues.
Because of how it can get twisted.
It can get twisted so easy. Yeah.
Just last week, I had a guy who was in a car crash, and he's talking about how he can't rock climb, which is his hobby. And I was like, that's terrible. He's like, well, it's going to be even worse because I'm going there tonight. I'm not going to climb. I get to watch all my friends climb.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't even go.
Right.
Because it looks like you might be participating. He obviously can't. He's actually injured. No insurance fraud.
Right.
By all means, that's not what we're aiming at. But it can get twisted and skewed.
And they will. Insurance companies will take every opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to paint them in a bad light. A lot of attorneys are like, we hate insurance companies, and there's a lot of negatives we could probably talk about. But at the same time, they do a lot of good, right? And they help out, and they do a lot of things, and they take care of people. But when it comes to this sort of thing, they're a business, and they will look for any which way to twist any story to get out of paying for what really happened. So you're wise. I think that's smart. Don't even go. Don't even worry about going. And you get caught in a picture, and it's like, maybe you had your climbing shoes on just to be there, and how do we know you didn't do something or fall, etc. So yeah, good point. That's a great point.
Yeah, I'm glad that came up. But in the future, if there are opportunities, we'll reach out to you guys, and I appreciate you sharing your knowledge.
Yeah.
And I hope that everybody out there will reach out to you guys if they have questions.
Yeah.
If their friends are in a car crash, give you a call.
Right.
Even if it's just a consultation. That's one thing I like about your group is you guys are so friendly and inviting. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. We love Mint, and you guys do such an awesome job, and the way that you run your business, and we constantly talk about, well, Brad does this, and it's fantastic. You're doing a great job. So
I appreciate
thanks
that.
for having me.
Yeah. And there is one question. Brody's going to just fire me if I don't ask.
Yeah.
He'll kick me out. He'll be the new host. We ask everybody this on the podcast.
Oh, I'm in.
What does mint condition mean to you? Because the podcast called The Mint Condition, right?
Yeah.
What does mint condition mean for you?
Mint condition for me, in the scenario that I live in, would be for someone to go back to the condition that they were prior to the accident, if not better. And so for me, it's that baseline period of before the accident, I was a 9 out of 10 in my everyday life. And so now after the accident, I'm a 4. Mint condition would be 9, 9.5, 10, right? Going back and getting myself back to where I was prior to any injury or accident that I had. So if I had to put a definition to it, that's what I would say mint condition would be.
Perfect. That's a great answer.
Awesome.
Thanks, Addison.
I appreciate you.
Thanks.